What's up, y'all? I'm Fantasia. Welcome to my channel, Sewing with Tay, where I do a bunch of sewing stuff and a bunch of other stuff too. Thanks for watching today, and this is my first video of the year, so Happy New Year. And I have 2 more days before I go back to work full time. So I have one more project that I wanted to get done before I go back to work. So, a couple months back, Target had a collection with Rowing Blazers, a bunch of cool stuff. If you know anything about me, I love everything shades of green and blue. I feel like green and blue is like the best complementary colors ever. There were no orange in there if you want to be, 3 colors. And I found this blanket on clearance from the Rowing Blazers collection, and it had all 3. And it was $15 if it was focus. And I thought this would be perfect for a pair of blanket pants. I have actually never made a pair of blanket pants, but I see people doing them all the time, and I'm like, these are so cute. I don't know how these are going to come out, but we're going to see. We're going to just try it out and see how it goes. It's going to be my first DIY of the year. I am super excited about this. I have been super excited about this, but I've been super busy the last couple months of the year. So I have 2 days before I go back to work. I kind of want to sew these pants today. So let's get to sewing. Okay, considering that I just want to make these pants, I'm not going to take the time to make my own pattern. I have a ton of patterns. Maybe we'll do a pattern review of all the patterns I have. But I made this little jacket last year. Focus. Maybe not. Well, you can kind of see it. I made this jacket last year, but I never made the pants. They're a little big. I kind of want them to be on the wider side, the pants. So I feel like I might take a little bit of width out of these, but I'm just going to use this pattern as a start point because I already got it. Opening my blanket. This is really my first view of seeing the entire blanket. All right, so the Rowing Blazers that's on the blanket is a little bit bigger than what I thought it would be potentially. So now I'm kind of rethinking the design because originally I wanted to see if I could fit the Rowing Blazers down one leg, and maybe I can. I don't know. I'm gonna have to work this out. So here is the blanket folded widthwise. Thinking this through. This is long ways. So it looks like this is the layout I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna alter these patterns because it's a little bit too wide and make it fit almost just perfect. So fingers crossed. The back leg opening was like 15 and the front leg opening was 14 and a half. That is really wide. So I ended up taking 2 inches off both sides of the pants, the inseam and the outseam. 1, because I wanted it to be slimmer than that, and 2, it made just enough space to fit both patterns. I decided to split the name Rowing Blazers down the side versus trying to fit it on one leg because the way the fabric was laid out, it wasn't enough fabric. So this is why I'm cutting one side and then cutting the other side. Then I went back and cut the opposite side of the leg. So I had to cut the front separate and then the back separate. And then I cut the other leg with the remaining fabric. I was trying to be really careful to not cut the fringe because I want to use that later. This was a little tedious, but it literally was just enough fabric. I had just enough scrap left to cut the waistband, so that's good. I guess making plus size blanket pants, you need a bigger blanket. This was a tough one, a little tougher than I imagined to find a good place for the placement and the prints. I actually have some orange poplin, so I'm just going to use these for the pocket bags. I wanted to keep these fringe edges because you know how you see the blanket pants with the fringe down the side, so I tried to keep, as much as I could without it going into the whatever the stitch that's holding it. Looks like glue, but whatever the case. So I'm going to trim these down and I'm going to sew them on the back of the sides, so then I can put my pocket in and then it'll still be nice. So I'm gonna do that. So I trimmed down the extra fabric that was on the other side of the fringe, and I sewed this on along the edge of the back of the pant, like a quarter of an inch. I plan to do a half an inch seam allowance, so hopefully this will be safely tucked inside. I did go back and cut the trim that's right at the top and right at the bottom, because when you go to hem or you're going to put your waistband on, it was in the way. So I did go ahead and attach my pocket bags, and it was just perfect that I had the right color orange fabric already. While sewing this, I had to be very careful to not sew the fringe into this top stitching or the stay stitching for the pockets, but it ended up not being that bad, and especially because it's woven, I didn't have to worry about stretching or anything. Here, I'm basically just finishing the pocket bags. I'm sewing the pocket, the other side of the pocket on the other side of the pants, and I did this for both sides. The first that I want to start with is the complicated side with the letters. We're gonna see, don't shake, how it goes. Here's the back with the pocket attached. Here's the front with the pocket attached. Let's go. We're going to sew these together without catching the fringe into the seam. As I started pinning this, I remembered that I need to make sure that the letters are actually aligned, because I had to cut and place my pattern so that the front and back sides were meeting at the correct spot, so that the letters would still connect to make the words Rowing Blazers. So I had to kind of slow down a bit to make sure that the letters were lined up okay, and then also on top of making sure that the fringe was not folded back or anything crazy caught into the seam. So this side took me a little bit longer than I would have liked, but this was the most important part of the pant. So it came together fine. Always make sure to clip your threads, and I went ahead and folded my pocket bag to the front, and there's a notch there, so I aligned them. Here is one leg. Oh, I think it's cute, and the letters don't look too far off. I'm a little short, so the blazer didn't fit in here, but that's okay. Let's sew the other leg. Now I can move a little bit quicker with sewing the other leg, since there's nothing special that needs to be aligned or matching. So, just standard pant construction. I did not finish any of the seams on this pant. I started to at the end, and I might go back and do it. But because it was a blanket, there were threads everywhere, and a clean garment is a happy garment. So, got to get those threads cleaned up. So, I might go back and serge all of my edges just to make it clean and nice, even though I don't really have any plans for these pants. I just wanted to make them. So these might end up in my sample graveyard, but sewing the inseam together, sewing the outer seam together, and then sewing the crotch. And then we're going to move on to the waistband. So in the crotch is super easy. We just want to make sure we align those inseams together. And for all of the seams here, I have been spreading them open because the bulkiness of this fabric is real. So pinning at the inseam, and then pinning at the top and back of the rises, and then pinning in between. Didn't have to worry about any stretching with this fabric. So we just want to do a quick stitch. And then I decided to go back. I did go back and serge all of these seams here in the middle, because it was just getting a little bit too messy, and I needed it to be a little bit cleaner. Here we are. Now let's put a waistband. We got pockets, tiny pockets. Let's see. Okay, waistband on. Here are my waistband pieces, and I don't know, mind you, I just grabbed this pattern, not with the intention of making the pattern as it was. This is 4.5 inches wide, so you take off an inch for seam allowance. That gives you 3.5. Then you fold it in half, You get 1 3/4. I have a 3/4 inch elastic, so I think I'm gonna increase my seam allowance to like 3/4, so I won't have as much room in my waistband. So I'm gonna sew these together and put it on there, and hopefully I can actually fit it because this fabric don't have no stretch. So for your waistband, I just sewed a 1/2 inch on each side, and then I left a little opening on one side of the waistband, so I sewed down to the middle, and then I'm going to leave the second half open so that I can insert the elastic easily. And then I'm going to press them open because it tends to make it easier when you're trying to get the elastic in there and out of there if it's pressed. So I just went and I pressed it all open, and then I'm going to actually press it in half. So here is my waistband. Ooh, it's getting a little scary, but I pressed my seams open and I pressed them together to make it a little easier to sew. This side, I left a little hole there so that I can get the elastic in. So I'm going to start attaching this to the pant. Since this fabric doesn't have any stretch, attaching the waistband is pretty easy. You know, pin at the side seams. Well, the thing you do need to know is when you're pinning this, you want to make sure your hole or your opening at your side seam is facing up, like facing you when you pin, so that when you finish sewing it and you pull your waistband up, that the hole is at the inside, and then that's where you will insert your elastic. But other than that, it is really easy. Just to pin around the waist. I'm sewing a little bit larger of a seam allowance because my elastic is smaller than this waistband, and I wasn't about to buy anything for this project, so I was just using what I had. So a very simple straight stitch just around the waist, trying to keep it straight, making sure you're getting all the layers. We're gonna make sure you get both sides of your waistband and your pants and your pocket bags where you know they are. So yeah, it's a lot of layers here, especially with this being a blanket, but here are the pants. They look super cute so far, but I also don't think I'm going to be able to fit these size into these pants, but I'm just being optimistic and I'm just going to finish it. So what I'm doing here is I took a quick estimate of what the waist is, and then I have like a tape measure on my desk. So I'm just checking how wide I think my elastic needed to be, and this piece that I randomly pulled out the box was actually just enough. So I'm going to do the safety pin method and pull the elastic through. You just find your opening that you made on your seam, and you're going to pull the elastic through, and you're going to feed it through all the way around. And then I just put a stitch, straight stitch down the elastic with my sewing machine, and the little opening there, sometimes I will stitch it closed, stitching through the elastic, and I might go back and stitch through the elastic for this one. Sometimes I like the floating elastics at the waist, and sometimes I like it to be sewn in. But for this one, I left it floating inside the casing for now. But I'm just going to go here and it's hand stitch closed this opening just so that it's finished. And then I went back and I serged that waist seam because it's a lot of fullness there. Okay, pants are done, and when I was measuring the fabric, I kind of had an idea that these probably would not fit me. But I said I was going to try anyways. Moment of transparency, suck at making woven pants for myself that don't have any type of stretch. Like getting that hip curve and the thigh and the crotch depth is something I still haven't figured out a good sloper for myself. But either way, I couldn't make these pants any bigger because of the lack of fabric, so I'm gonna see if I can get my sister to try them on for me because I think they're super cute. But I just wanted to make them to say that I made them. I'm gonna hope to put the picture maybe somewhere here. But thank you guys for following along. If you have any ideas of other stuff I should make, please leave me a comment, like and subscribe so you can catch more of my videos in the future. And thank you guys for watching. Bye.